welcome to another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I am once again your mayor of PHNX. I got it back. I got the satch back today. This man next to me, of course, Mr. Electric himself, the one and only Shawn. And Jesse Friedman is here in studio after doing some amazing reporting last night. That's your Thunderstick. He's my vice mayor. Of course, we are very excited to discuss Jordan Lawlar now officially being an Arizona Diamondback, and according to Gambo and other reports, he will be starting in today's lineup against the Chicago Cubs.
There you go.
But part of that was obviously the discussion we had yesterday with the Nick Ahmed being DFA'd, and I just wanted to take a moment to say we absolutely went too far in our reaction to that, and I think a lot of it had to do, and it doesn't excuse the way we reacted, but a lot of it had to do more with the excitement of Jordan Lawlar. Obviously, there's a ton of people that are big Nick Ahmed fans. My niece is a gigantic Nick Ahmed fan. She was absolutely destroyed by this news. So it's not a great day because, Nick Ahmed, the longest tenured Diamondback, not, part of this team any longer. And Jesse, you actually had, a very emotional video from Nick last night that, obviously touched a lot of people and, kind of showed how much this team meant to him. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you really see on days like yesterday, you really see the human element of this game, right? That, it's easy as a baseball fan to look at the back of the baseball card or look up the baseball reference page or whatever and sort of make your judgment about a player, which is valid, right? I mean, that's a part of the sport, is you're going to be judged off of your performance. And as Nick Ahmed learned yesterday, there's some hard things that come with playing this game as a result of that. It is very performance based. That's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, at the same time, I mean, they're all human beings, right? People. At the end of the day, like Nick Ahmed, he was never trying to go out there and struggle against left-handed pitching. He was never trying to, not have the throwing arm that he had a few years ago. The major shoulder surgery that he had a couple years back was a really big part of that, and I think was a pretty big deterrent of his career here over the last couple years. But yeah, I mean, you could just see so clearly in the videos that we posted and comments from Torey Lovello that Nick Ahmed, the Diamondbacks meant a lot to him, and he certainly meant a lot to this organization and his teammates and whatnot. So. Yeah, it was a tough day. I mean, Bryce Jarvis was also optioned yesterday. That kind of got lost in the shuffle. He threw 2 scoreless innings in the game yesterday.
I was going to say, Bryce Jarvis, I'm not saying he is at the same level as Kevin Ginkel, but it's kind of like that's the kind of move it was when it was like, really? Bryce Jarvis got sent down? I mean, I get, one thing that we talked about on the show yesterday without you was the fact that sometimes it comes down to options, and sometimes it just comes down to the moves you're trying to make in order to, get guys on the 40-man roster or position guys how you need to. Obviously with Ahmed, a big part of this is the Diamondbacks are now, in the hunt, and they want to do everything they can to make the main, roster as competitive as possible. They absolutely, if they were 10 games below 500, probably would have not done anything like this and let Nick Ahmed finish up his season. I mean, that's the part I think that a lot of people seem to have problems with, was like, being this close to the end of the season and parting ways with Ahmed. But obviously a lot of that is roster, related. It's related to the fact that the Diamondbacks need to have as many open positions as possible, and they need to try to do everything. They can't have someone like Ahmed, just kind of benched and there for, various, one-off situations and not really contributing with kind of a roster they're having issues with their roster spots.
Yeah, another interesting aspect here, and then I'll let Shawn talk because I don't think we've let Shawn say a word yet in the show. Another interesting thing is, Michael just referenced it in the chat. I did an interview with Nick Ahmed a month or so, I think, before the season started, maybe a couple months before the season started. And one of the things I talked to him about was the work that he did with Jordan Lawlar. Jordan Lawlar worked with Nick Ahmed, I believe, during his fall league stint last year. Ahmed was generous enough to lend his time and go out to the ballpark and work with Lawlar on defense. And, the way that things turned out yesterday, it's a brutal game we play, right? Yeah. I mean, one day Ahmed is helping lead the next generation of players in this organization and being generous with his time. And the next day that player is taking his roster spot. I mean, that's just the brutal nature of of the sport and just kind of what you're asking for when you become a professional athlete.
Yeah. I think one thing of it, and there's things that happen that I learned in baseball that I like still just can't believe at times. I don't know if I fully believe them, but like one thing I just, kind of found shocking was that Nick didn't know this was coming at all. And I get that you're not going to like prep a player for potentially being DFA, but at the same time, it felt like at times that they were sending, a message that, like they needed to try to make this roster as good as they can. And I mean, I feel like all season they haven't really held back from making very difficult decisions like this.
Yeah, Bumgarner, Carson Kelly, now Nick Ahmed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the business of it. And I mean, he even acknowledged it in that interview. Like he hasn't been playing well. And I mean, someone brought it up in the Discord, getting back to like him working with Lawlar and stuff like that. Like whenever his career ends as a player, like he would make a hell of a coach. Yeah. And like he obviously is important to this organization. The organization is important to him, whether that's like in the farm system or on the major league. Like he would make a hell of an infield coach or whatever. Like he would just seem like the kind of guy that would be great to have a part of the organization still. Just obviously not as a player at this point. So who knows what the future holds in that regard? But it is, you interviewing him and having him talk about mentoring Lawlar and then Lawlar coming to take his spot. Like that is the cruel reality of the sport they play, the world we live in.
I didn't want to dwell on it too much, but is it awkward in those scenarios to be there when because this doesn't seem like something that happens very often where they have kind of a guy give somewhat like of an exit interview after they've been like released or DFA'd or even sent down.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, a lot of times when things like this happen, we don't get an opportunity to talk to that player. They're just gone. So yeah, I mean, I think it says a lot about Nick Ahmed as a person that he didn't want to just get the heck out of there. We waited for him to have some heartfelt interactions with some of his teammates in the clubhouse, and then after a while, once things had cleared out and he was the only guy there, we talked with him. And you have to have a lot of respect for a guy who's willing to have that conversation. And I wasn't surprised. I mean, Nick has definitely shown himself to be, available to the media and generous with his time. And he is the longest tenured Diamondbacks player. I think it was good that we all got to hear from him at the end of all this.
Mo is getting to the root of our real big fear.
Yeah.
He's going to end up on the Dodgers somehow, and he is going to be the best shortstop in baseball.
Yeah, that's probably
inevitable.
Yeah, that's definitely what's going to happen. But moving on to the Jordan Lawlar side of things, he is officially an Arizona Diamondback, and at age 21, he is the second youngest D-backs position player in franchise history.
Justin Upton, man. I still don't get how Justin Upton was a big leaguer at 19 years old. That still absolutely blows me.
There's a good chance we could see that with like Jackson Holiday too right now for the Baltimore Orioles.
I mean, I don't know because he's 19 right now, I believe.
But he got promoted to the AAA level. And
he's in AAA, but I don't know if the Orioles are about to call him up to the big leagues.
They don't even need him. They got plenty of plenty of firepower.
Yeah, be a tough time for them to make a move like that.
Yeah. But we've kind of been jealous of the progress that some of the Orioles players have made. Meanwhile, Lawlar kind of, even with his injury, moved through the system very quickly.
He really did. Yeah, I mean, it's not all that dissimilar from what Corbin Carroll did, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, Lawlar had the same thing happen where, for him, it was pretty soon after he was drafted. He had the shoulder injury and the surgery. Because if you're a D-backs first-round pick as a position player, you have to get your major shoulder surgery out of the way.
I had mine in 2012.
Yeah, we've all had it, right? So yeah, he got that out of the way, and then 2022 and 2023. I mean, he started last season in rookie ball, and then he was in Visalia, and then he was in Hillsboro, and then he finished the year in Amarillo. Had some struggles there. Went to the fall league and had some success, but then sustained another injury. That was the scapula injury that ended his fall league a little bit early. And then he came into this season and he struggled for the first month and a half or so. Jordan Lawlar, it took him a while to kind of figure out that AA level. That's a big adjustment from high A to AA. But man, he eventually made that adjustment. And since the end of May, he's been, one of the better minor leaguers in the sport. And there's a reason he's ranked as a top 10 prospect in the game by a lot of different outlets. He has 5 legit tools. He doesn't really have any clear weaknesses. And, you know, you'll find a variety of opinions on him and kind of what the outlook looks like. We're going to get into that here. But I think everyone agrees that the ceiling for him is very high. The ceiling for him is that of a star level shortstop in this league. Not everyone's necessarily expecting that. But I mean, he's 21 years old, right? He's got a lot of time in this league to figure things out.
He
and
sure does.
This is one of the you know, the most, I think, exciting days if you're a Diamondbacks fan of the year, right? Jordan Lawlar is a major leaguer, and he's joining the team at a pivotal point in the season when the Diamondbacks are about to launch into the biggest series they've played arguably in, you know, 5+ years at this point. So it's gonna be fun to see how it turns out.
Have an opportunity to make a name for himself. Like immediately. Not all rookies get a chance. I mean, obviously, all rookies get a chance to do that because they're playing in Major League Baseball. Not all rookies get to do it on a scale like this.
Yeah,
like
it's a big stage.
Well, he could potentially. I mean, this is again putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but he could potentially be a Rookie of the Year candidate next year, right? Yep. It's similar to, once again, you talked, Jesse, about him following in the footsteps of Corbin Carroll.
Yeah,
he might literally do that next year, right?
I don't want to go too far with that because then people are going to expect Lawlar to be an extremely good player immediately, which is what Corbin Carroll did, and he could do that. But just know that's not the norm. That's not the way this normally works.
You know what else isn't the norm? Slashing .423, .506. and .761 against lefties.
It's pretty good.
In 85 plate appearances this year. When Torrey said that he will be in the lineup against left-handed pitchers, that is exactly what he meant.
Yeah, I mean,
I know there were a lot of people that were concerned about that, by the way, because seeing your video from yesterday about him being in the lineup, it seemed like people's reactions were like, he shouldn't just be in there against lefties.
Yeah, great. We're going to get him every 4th day or whatever. Yeah.
I'm just, it's just, it's all potential. Like he has a chance to like significantly improve this team. Like that, it's a major hole that he's potentially filling.
Yeah.
And so like in the middle of a wild card race where there's 3-4 teams all just treading water, like one player could be the difference.
That's
like
if
he injects a little bit of energy into this team, like I mentioned the other day, the way like Ellie did with the Reds.
Yeah.
If they get hot for 2 weeks, that's the difference between them making the playoffs and them not making the playoffs. So it is not to put too much pressure on them, but there's a lot of pressure on them.
It's something that other teams right now don't necessarily have the ability to do, is have that player come up at this point. Like you said, when things are kind of dragging on, when a lot of the teams right now in the wild card race aren't exactly killing it, you know. I mean,
unless you're the Marlins facing the Los Angeles Dodgers, apparently.
The Diamondbacks,
the Dodgers are just easy money right now.
Yeah, unreal. The Diamondbacks right now have basically the equal odds as the Reds to make the final playoff position as far as the betting odds are concerned. And right now they're both favorite to win that final wild card spot, which is odd. The Reds have the 1-game advantage over the Diamondbacks, and right now they are both projected to win 83 games this year. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and especially how Lawlar can impact this team at this point and impact that trajectory. Maybe the Diamondbacks get a couple more wins, and at this point, like we've heard from Lovello, like we've heard from Brent Strom the other day, they both feel that this season is going to come down to 1 game. And as a matter of fact, Brent Strom gave a scenario where it was like very specific, I believe.
Yeah. He basically said, you know, I have a feeling that this season is going to come down to Kyle Nelson in the 6th inning facing Jordan Alvarez or something along those lines, which could happen, right? The D-backs,
that's
their final
game.
Series of the year is against the Houston Astros.
Oh, God. Wasn't that terrifying?
Oh, no.
When he said that, I was like,
go ask the Marlins how that turns out.
It's so over.
Oh, man.
It's if there comes a situation where Jordan Alvarez has a chance to end the Diamondback season with a home run, I'm sprinting to BetMGM and putting every dollar I have on the outcome of that at bat to be a home run.
It's not the team you want to face.
That's certainly not the man you want to
Definitely
face.
not,
Although, do you see him on that Sunday Night Baseball? That weird fall he took. It was
Jordan Alvarez.
Yeah,
no,
it was odd. But yeah, I don't want to see that, man.
No. Diamondbacks do have games against the White Sox and your favorite poverty franchise, the New York Yankees, left. But aside from that, they're not even playing terrible baseball lately. So I mean,
they've won 5 in a row.
Yeah,
since Jason Dominguez
I was gonna say that's exactly. That's a more recent example of the Ellie De La Cruz effect, right? Like, and what you can hope from, or not hope from, but not expect, but you can hope the best, like that Lawlar can provide.
Yeah,
you've seen it. Like the Yankees were in the darkest of days. Like,
they really were.
That franchise was in a very dark spot, and then all of a sudden he shows up and has just injected a new life into them. And obviously the Yankees are not, or the D-backs are not this year's Yankees. I'm not trying to say that we're a better organization than the Yankees, but they obviously this year are in a much better space than the Yankees.
Yes, we are.
And so if they can get that, then obviously, like I said, could be the difference between them making the playoffs and them not making the playoffs.
Lawlar's prospect ranks around the league are fairly high. MLB Pipeline has him up to 10th. Baseball America has him at number 9th with a quote about him saying Lawlar struggled to begin the season in the Texas League, but came alive in June and July when he showed the form that helped him star in his first full minor league season in 2022. And I know that one thing that quote the other day when we talked about Mike Hazen and his comments to Nick Picoro about Lawlar getting called up.
Yeah.
He basically said like his bat came around in a way I don't think they expected to come around that fast. And of course, you know, with baseball, you kind of have to wait. You have to wait to see if it's real. And then you have to wait a week longer. And then you have to wait one more week. And then like even then you don't know if what you're seeing is just kind of a hot streak, a fluke, especially in the minor league system, a product of being in Amarillo or a product of being in Reno, or if someone like Lawlar is for real. And I feel like now, especially with that 423 batting average against lefties, that's for real. One thing I will say, he doesn't get a lot of extra base hits that aren't home runs. And I don't know if that's a bad problem, but he really doesn't get a lot of extra base hits that aren't home runs.
I mean, it's probably a product of the environment to some extent, right? Sure. Like that double in the gap is now a homer. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily read too much into that at this point. It will be interesting to see just how the game translates. It's such a wild card when a top prospect comes up because you just don't know. Like we talked about the other day, a lot of times you see guys come up and they kind of light the league on fire for a couple weeks. We're seeing that with Jason Dominguez. We saw it with Ellie De La Cruz. There have been a number of prospects this season that have done that. But that's not a given. Sometimes guys come up and it just doesn't translate.
And I mean, oftentimes when you see that, what follows it is pitchers figuring them out and then struggling for a little bit, like Corbin did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finding out based on a scouting report that someone can't hit a changeup, and then that's pretty much the demise, their demise for a bit, you know.
Yeah.
But when it came to Jordan, like he evaluators were very high on him, and then just based on like. Again, I think maybe the injury and how he struggled a bit, like in lower A.
Yeah,
you know?
I think double A, the fact that he really struggled there when he got his first taste of double A last year, and then coming into this season for about a month and a half, he really struggled as well. I think his strikeout rate in double A was up over 30% this year through May 24th. He slashed 168, 298, 336 for the first month and a half of the season in Double A.
Gross.
Those are poor numbers, right? And that strikeout rate is pretty dang high too. You know what he's done since then, since May 24th. Lawlar's at 325, 413, 565. He's almost cut that strikeout rate in half at 16.2%. The walk rate is still good at 10.3%. You know, he had a 1050 OPS after being promoted to AAA. So yeah, I think these last 3 months have done wonders for his standing in the league. And I saw Eric Longenhagen from Fangraphs wrote a story about some top shortstop prospects and their defense, and he raised Lawlar's future value based on what he's seen from his defense. It sounds like there have been some really significant improvements there as well. There's hope that he can stay at shortstop in the long term once again, which is always a big thing. So yeah, his status has kind of changed a little bit this year, but as of right now, I think it is once again pretty dang high.
What do you see the plan being? Where would he? So he would just split time with Perdomo essentially at shortstop.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I did ask Tori yesterday about Lawlar playing third base in Reno the other day, and he did say that's an option. So I wouldn't be shocked if you saw Lawlar at third base at some point. He'll probably get some DH opportunity as well, I would think.
Yeah.
You know, against a lefty, the D-backs have kind of been cycling in some different guys into that spot, so that could be an option for him. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. I mean, they're going to give him every lefty at shortstop, and beyond that, we don't really know what it's going to look like. It sounds like he's starting tonight. He's going to be in the lineup tonight, but you know, this could be every other game that Lawlar plays. It could be 2 out of every 3 games that Lawlar plays. We'll have to kind of wait and see how it turns out.
The only way Lawlar can be added to the postseason roster is as an injury replacement.
Correct. That is my understanding.
Can he take any roster spot? Can it be any injured player?
Yeah, it appears that the situation is very easy to manipulate. And the Diamondbacks, it's not like, Perdomo got hurt, and so the D-backs need an injury replacement at shortstop.
Right.
It's like, Dre Jameson is on the 60-day IL, so we're going to use Lawlar as an injury replacement for a guy who might not have been a candidate to actually be on the roster anyway. It appears that is possible. So if the Diamondbacks wanted to, and if they made it, I believe they could put Jordan Lawlar on their playoff roster.
Well, he's not the only addition. The Diamondbacks picked up catcher Seby Zavala, claimed off of waivers from the Chicago White Sox. They went ahead and sent Jose Herrera down to AAA Reno. Zavala doesn't have the best offensive numbers. Obviously, we know Herrera didn't either. But what do you think the idea here is about Seby? We discussed a bit his Baseball Savant page and how some of his strengths look like they were obviously different. Polar opposites from Herrera.
Yeah, defensively, I think that does seem to be the case. Herrera has graded out pretty well as a thrower this year. Not so much in terms of blocking and framing. Those numbers aren't as good. Zavala has graded out pretty well in those respects, but hasn't graded out quite as well as a thrower this season. The offense isn't great. Jose Herrera, after a 2-hit game yesterday, was up to 212, 301, 263 on the season for his slash line, which is not good. But, an on-base percentage north of 300 from your backup catcher. Jose Herrera is obviously, hitting has not really been a strength of his. So I think that was pretty respectable given your expectations. The D-backs are replacing him with a guy in Seby Zavala who's hitting 155, 207, 304. There's a little bit more power in there, but his walk rate is about half that of Herrera's this season. His strikeout rate is significantly higher. He did have better numbers last year. If you look at Zavala's numbers last year with the White Sox, he was almost a league average hitter, around a league average hitter. So you have to believe the D-backs are maybe buying into that a little bit, that Zavala is a better hitter than he's shown this year. And you could make a case he's a better defender than Jose Herrera as well.
And it really feels like this is a move to help the pitching staff. But it also feels like it's kind of, there's not a lot of time. I mean, it doesn't feel like that.
It's got to be tough if you're Seby Zavala and you're like, all right, I'm going to learn 14 pitchers. Do 3 weeks left in the season. That's a pretty tough spot for him to be in.
So does that signal that Gabby Moreno is going to get most of the time here down the stretch, most likely? I mean,
I don't know.
Obviously it feels like Zavala is going to be in the mix, but it does feel like there's going to be a learning curve for him to get kind of up to speed with this pitching staff.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they push Gabby maybe a little more the rest of the way, like Tori's been talking about with other guys. But you're not going to start Gabby 6 days a week. That's just not not realistic.
Right,
so he's going to have to play some. I just hope he's a quick learner, right?
I mean, it's good.
Maybe that's something we don't know about him that he is. Maybe that's why part of the appeal. I don't know.
And not to say that it's not important, but like we're talking about the backup catcher. Like it's not like this is hopefully gonna make or break the season if it doesn't work out, or that Herrera was like, playing out of his mind, like we just talked about the numbers. So like, it does kind of feel like they're betting on whether it's last year's numbers or betting on or making a preference towards what he's good at versus what Herrera's good at. But ultimately, it's like, hopefully it doesn't matter, because hopefully the backup catcher shouldn't matter too much. Especially once you get to the postseason.
There is not likely to be a enormous difference in performance between Herrera and Zavala. At the end of the day, it's not. They're not playing every day, and you're not expecting a ton of offense from either guy. Mm-hmm. Gabby is obviously the main man back there for the D-backs.
I still can't believe that Jordan Lawlar is here. Like I really can't. Like that seems so crazy. Much like last year, it didn't feel real that Corbin Carroll was here. Like it happened so fast. It was like, next thing you know, there's a rumor, and then before we can even like sit there and dwell on the rumor too much, boom, it happens. And we couldn't help but ask this question 2 shows ago when we were discussing, a poor offensive night from Nick Ahmed, and meanwhile in Reno, Jordan Lawlar was hitting 2 home runs, and like. Even when we were having that conversation, it felt like such a distant thing potentially that we were discussing, and it literally happened the next day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be exciting. And I know we touched on it a bit yesterday, but what an exciting, absolutely electric atmosphere for him to make his debut in Wrigley Field.
Wrigley Field against a team that is themselves, not only themselves in the thick of a playoff race, but like one of your potentially, I mean, at this point, obviously they have a little bit of a lead, but one of the teams that you specifically are competing against for your playoffs.
And you have a lot of games against this team too.
Like every single pitch of this, I feel like this is going to have a very playoff-esque atmosphere. Outside of the fact that it's a day game, or not day, I guess not a day game.
Today's a night game, but the next 3 are day games.
It's a day game for Chicago.
It's a little earlier for us, but yeah, I guess tonight specifically between Lawlar's debut. That it being the start of the series, like it might have a little bit of a playoff atmosphere. That's exciting
for sure. Well, we thank you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel right now. We always love you and appreciate you for being here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. And leave us a thumbs up just to let us know you still like us. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, subscribe over there. Leave us a review. We always appreciate that feedback. And of course, big time of the year to check out all of our friends, but of course now is a good time to have a wink. And when I say a wink, I just mean a seltzer with a wink of THC. It's an amazing product right now that you can get. How high will you get on wink? Just a wink, but it is a perfect blend of THC and CBD right now, and it has no third-party producer. It is made in-house. 0 calories, 0 sugar, no alcohol. It is the perfect summertime drink. It's balanced, it's light and social, and of course, it tastes like your favorite refreshing flavored seltzer. So make sure to give Wink a try. It's available in either 2.5 milligram or 5 milligram cans, and you can find Wink right here in Arizona. Look for Wink at all Sunday Good dispensaries in the Valley and Botanica dispensaries in Tucson. They're now in 12 states nationwide and even recently launched online ordering and home delivery to about a dozen others. To find the fastest way to get your hands on one, go to drinkwink.com, and that is with WYNK. Also, it's time to boost your odds over at BetMGM Sportsbook app. Get in the batter's box with BetMGM Swing for the Fences promotion. It's fun, and it can win you some extra money, increase your odds, or even get you an insurance token to get your money back. All you have to do is log into the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android. Play the BetMGM MLB free-to-play game from now until today. Today is your last chance to play it, so do not miss out. Be a batter, pick an area of the strike zone. Get yourself that last boost before this game ends. Depending on the area of the strike zone you pick, you will single, double, triple, or home run, and depending on what you do, you will get the prize associated with that hit. Your prizing must be used on MLB and does expire in 24 hours. So get down on it and get a free boost before that game ends. Sign up for BetMGM now and use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Well, it is time once again for our MLB Power Rankings, and things have actually moved around on the board this time. Braves really skunked those Dodgers and really knocked them back in their place, and then the Marlins piled on right when we needed the Marlins to, of course, win. Yeah, that's what we needed. But taking a look at our Power Rankings, we have the Atlanta Braves in the #1 overall spot, followed by the Baltimore Orioles at 2, the Tampa Bay Rays at 3, the Houston Astros at 4, and the Los Angeles Dodgers rounding out the top 5 at number 5. Then in the bottom half, we have the Mariners at 6, Phillies at 7, Cubs sneak back into the rankings at 8th, especially with the way they've been absolutely pummeling teams lately. Blue Jays there, 9th, and the Brewers make up the last of our power rankings there with the 10th spot. So let's discuss this, especially the Dodgers making such a huge drop from the 2nd spot there to 5th overall.
I mean, that's not huge, Derek. Let's not be overly dramatic.
They are a worse team than the Rays. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean the Dodgers have won one baseball game since the Diamondbacks left LA. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Atlanta Braves. They lost the first 2.
We broke them.
Yeah, clearly it was the Diamondbacks doing. It was a very competitive series. Yeah, the Dodgers have lost the first 2 against the Marlins as well. Lance Lynn was tagged for 8 runs yesterday.
He finally came back down to earth.
He has very much come back down to earth.
He was
the home runs continue to be an issue.
7 earned runs in the game against the Braves.
So this would be back-to-back pretty disastrous outings for him.
Dead.
Lance Lynn has given up 40 home runs this year. That is a heck of a lot of home runs for a starting pitcher to allow. That just continues to be an issue for him. And obviously, there's the Julio Urias situation happening right now. He's on administrative leave. You don't really know what the future holds there. Clayton Kershaw is pitching through a shoulder injury. His fastball averaged 88 miles an hour in his last start. I believe the Dodgers are continuing to just have him pitch through this because I don't think there's really anything they can do to help it in a huge way right now. So yeah, this rotation is not great. They're trying to get Walker Buehler back. They've got some young arms in the mix. Ryan Pepio and Bobby Miller are guys they're going to have to rely on. But yeah, it's not the Dodgers starting rotation that you're used to seeing from years past. There's some serious depth issues here. And I think a lot of people have questions about in a playoff series, is it going to really hold up against other teams in the playoffs? And I don't know if it will, frankly. I mean, I've always been, I've always been a guy who has respect for the Dodgers in the postseason, even though they've had some struggles there. They're a really good baseball team, but this year that rotation just doesn't really look like a playoff caliber rotation to me.
On top of an organization that you kind of just referenced has not really they've got 1 ring in the last however many years.
Yeah, they're notorious for not being very good.
Lived up to expectations.
They win playoff games, but yeah, they have not gone all the way nearly as much.
I mean, if the makes the playoffs, we need someone else to take care of them. That's all.
In the last 10 years, they've won regular season games. They just don't win that many playoff games. But
yeah,
I mean, again, right now, when you take a look at, like you said, their starting rotation and a lot of the issues they have, not to mention, having one of your starting pitchers have legal issues that obviously make him look very bad and seem like a very bad thing that he did. And it's not the first time he's been involved with something like this. It's got to be demoralizing to the clubhouse as well. It can't feel great like when you're. I mean, we talked
about a clubhouse that is full of guys like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman who have assaulted the fucking.
Yeah, we've talked about how hard it is to hate a lot of the Dodgers players, but then it's very easy to hate some of them that do terrible stuff.
But I mean, my point is like to your point, those are like. It seems like there's a lot of really good people.
Yeah,
and so it probably that much more takes its
toll
on the clubhouse where it's like. Damn, that guy might be a piece of shit.
Not to mention the fact that they have enough of a lead, like we talked about yesterday, where they're not really in a fight right now. I mean, it's not to say that losing
especially
games
after getting their ass kicked by the Braves,
right? But I'm just saying they have such a substantial lead that they just kind of have to be mediocre the rest of the way for them to lock up the NL West. So it's not like they're in a position where they are fighting for the NL West spot. However, this that I think that all kind of spells a little bit of a disaster for potentially their postseason, and it's a good thing for the Diamondbacks, obviously, if they run into those Dodgers. And I still am thinking about how Brent Strom got me fired up with his comments about the pressure's on them playing a team like the Diamondbacks in the playoffs.
I mean, the Diamondbacks make the playoffs. There's not a shred of pressure on them, basically, under any circumstance.
Just do damage, son. Do whatever.
Yeah,
do as much damage.
Exactly.
As you
like, and if you lose the first 2 games of the wild card, then you still are out of schedule. So it's all house money in that regard.
Yeah,
that's true.
At this point, the Braves don't seem like they're going to be denied, at least in the National League. Like it doesn't seem like. Especially with everything we just talked about the Dodgers, but even if the Dodgers were the Dodgers, like the Braves right now, they seem inevitable.
Yeah, they seem inevitable.
Yeah.
But in the AL side of things,
very interesting.
Yeah, obviously you have the Tampa Bay Rays and the Baltimore Orioles fighting for the top spot,
which are
in the AL East.
2 teams that are not there. I mean, they're not the Astros. Or they're not teams that you get to the postseason and they're like, that's an organization I trust. Mainly because, I mean, the Orioles, it's been a while since you've seen them there. And then
The Tampa Bay Rays, they're just a different team every time. Every time they're in the playoffs, they're completely.
You don't
different
know what to expect from them. I mean, Arandy Arozarena could be like the kind of guy that completely disappears, or is also the best player in the MLB postseason. So
and they also had their own thing with Wander Franco, right?
Well,
and that's another thing that it seems like it galvanized them a bit, because instead of seeing them go in the other direction, you saw this team start to play fairly good after he was removed from it. And I mean, in some cases, maybe like that's
well,
how,
I mean, you honestly don't know. Like, I guess the Dodgers could also, and it's again, like you were saying, they aren't necessarily needing to win games as much right now, but like it could be a similar like. No, this is not like it could be bulletin board material. Like, oh, fuck all them. They think now that we lost this one guy, we're not going to be as good.
Sure,
like, let's show them, which I hope is not the case.
Let's show them we don't need him.
I hope they do need him.
Yeah.
The AL is fascinating to me because I don't think there is like the one team in the AL that is like, when I look at them, like that's a World Series team is the Houston Astros, and who knows what's going to happen in the AL West.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The Mariners are obviously there to just kind of mess shit up, and then the Rangers are still probably like the deadliest roster in baseball on paper.
Not even on the top 10. They fell right off the power rankings.
So like, who knows what could happen in that division?
Yeah,
like it's. And the Red Sox are still there, and if the Red Sox make the postseason, I mean, they're not still there. They're 5 games back, I think. But if the Red Sox somehow manage to make the postseason, now all of a sudden we're talking about the Boston Red Sox in the MLB postseason, which is like, I think like 80% of the time they make the postseason, they make the World Series. So by no means do I think the Red Sox are a World Series team, but I'm just saying that's an organization that they get to the playoffs. That's a team that wins playoff games. So
they're 5 games out. Shawn.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's realistic, but I'm just saying.
Tell me you're a Red Sox fan without telling me.
I'm not saying it's realistic. I'm just saying they're like the one other team that whenever they throw up the AL wild card graphic, it's like they're the only other team that gets shown other than the teams that are there. Yeah. But like my point is that the AL is a complete crapshoot.
Yeah,
who knows?
It really is.
Yeah,
Cubs are playing well though, Jesse, and
the Cubs are playing well.
Great for us playing them next, but of course this is
D-backs
another
played
tough
their best
test.
game in a long time last night.
They really did.
So
they really did, and
it would have been if they didn't win that game yesterday, that would have been a tough day at the ballpark.
Yeah.
Oh
right?
man.
Yeah. I mean between the Nick Ahmed stuff and then losing a 3-game series to the Colorado Rockies, that would have been a real gut punch coming into this series. I didn't get a chance to talk about the game yesterday because I was down in the clubhouse for 4 hours yesterday. But yeah, I mean, Alec Thomas hitting that home run, the Diamondbacks coming back in that game after being down 5-1 early going to the bottom of the third.
I love Alec Thomas.
It was huge.
Like a son.
It was
like
just
that's a little weird, but
it is. It's because he's older than you, I'm pretty sure. But
I think we might be the exact same age.
That makes it even weirder. I don't know how, but it does.
He's 23, I want to say.
Yeah. I want to say that the thing about it mostly was, you start to not believe that this team can muster up the offense when they get down by 3 runs, 4 runs. You've seen it in the past. You've seen them be able to put up plenty of runs, but in different scenarios. I mean, I know that early on they earned the answer backs moniker, but as of late, they really haven't. So like
that is very true.
It was very surprising to see them come back, but not just come back. This felt like one of those games that they would have just scored 5 runs or 6 runs to just give them that 1-run lead.
Yeah, 6-5, and then the bullpen's got to be perfect the rest of the way.
For the bottom of the 9th.
But now, that's like, it was so cathartic, and I can imagine that it was very cathartic for the team to see them just keep their foot on the pedal, continue getting runs, just getting little dink runs here and there, letting the Rockies make mistakes, having, their relief pitchers load the bases and walk in a run. All of those things are all just things that sometimes you just sit back and patiently let the other team kind of kill themselves, you let them shoot themselves in the foot and not have to worry so much about pressing or constantly making something happen. You just need to kind of take advantage of it and not be so aggressive yourself that you're out there swinging against a guy that clearly can't hit the strike zone. And we've seen that in the past where they're out there, they're down by maybe more than 1 run, and they're not even thinking about just getting on base. They're just out there free swinging and trying to like homer their way to a victory or homer their way to a comeback. Yesterday's game felt complete. It felt like they were doing all of the small things well, and you had several players that played well, including Tommy Pham and Alec Thomas. They both contributed in big ways to that win. But it was just yesterday. Between that, like you said, it went from what could have been a very sad day to at least a very encouraging day for the future of this team, including the addition of Jordan Lawlar on the positive side of things. But had they lost, that they would have been a focus so much on the negativity, including the loss of Nick Ahmed and how tremendously sad that was, especially losing someone that has literally been there almost the entire time that I've covered this team. So,
and the call up of Jordan Lawlar would have felt a lot different. I feel like
maybe desperate,
almost and I feel like I was joking about the pressure being on him earlier, but if that move comes off the back of a loss, it does feel a lot more like we're bringing him up to fix this, which is obviously wouldn't necessarily be the case. They're not expecting one player to fix all the problems, but
that's what it would
definitely
feel like.
It would have felt everything that happened yesterday would have felt very different, like you said, if the D-backs had managed to lose that game, or not managed, because they obviously had to work their way into winning the game. But
I want to give a shout out to Elizabeth, because I love Elizabeth. She says, "Don't question the dog," and it has to be. We are Damon's dog, so of course we don't question our Damon. But
and also, no, it was not a real stat. It's more like over the last like 20 years, it's been about 50% though of the time that they make the playoffs, they've won the World Series.
He's so full of shit.
The Red Sox?
Not at all.
No, I mean, you're probably right. It's got to be a very small. It's got to be a very small.
Over the last 2 decades, like they last time they made the playoffs, they lost in the championship round, but then they won the World Series.
I have a car.
2 losses, World Series, 2 losses, World Series, loss, World Series, loss. Like, so I mean, it's a little less than 50%, but it is so
cool. It is like successful.
They won the World Series 4 times this century.
As an Arizona sports fan, I actually was pondering that the other day, like what it would be like to just have a team that won a whole bunch of championships.
But I mean,
do you just feel satisfied?
There's
with
not a whole lot of
those.
And also
a Patriots fan.
And also, I will say, I'm not by any means going to sit here and pretend that the life of a Red Sox fan is difficult, but it is a different kind of as far as the Red Sox are concerned, it's been wildly inconsistent. Like they have gone multiple times where they have gone from being they're winning the World Series to the next year being the worst team in the AL East.
Yeah.
So they're not by any means the Dodgers either. The Dodgers have that's another thing.
What is it like being a Giants fan from 2000 and the Giants, 2020?
My favorite thing about the Giants was there was a 6-year stretch where Tim Lincecum they won a World Series, Tim Lincecum had a Cy Young or threw a no-hitter, and I was just like, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That had to have been fun.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, big shout out to all of our diehards. We appreciate your guys' love and support. If you haven't checked out the diehard membership yet, join us, become part of the family. You can get a diehard membership over at gophnx.com. Comes with all sorts of wonderful benefits, including members to our access-only Discord lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan. And again, we love all of you guys in there for all of the support that we received. So you guys are the best. But again, you also get access to Jesse's newsletter, Full Count. You get access to members-only content. You're going to get access to free piece of merchandise from the PHNXlocker.com and 20% off all future purchases. You also get members only merchandise. You get members only discounts with our partners. You get a Mountain Mike's gift certificate for $50. You'll get a Dobson Ranch card and so much more. So join us today over here, become part of the family, get your little membership kit. It's pretty awesome. And also drink yourself a Four Peaks beer in honor of you signing up for a diehard membership. It's the official craft beer of Derek Montilla. And it's the official craft beer of the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you're at Chase Field, make sure to check out the Four Peaks Draft Room. It is the place for all people that love Four Peaks. And of course, it's located down the first base line in deep right field. It is a great place to watch any baseball game from. And it is, of course, a great place to eat and drink at. So make sure to check them out. You can also check out everything Four Peaks has going on over at their calendar at fourpeaks.com/events. You can also follow them on social media at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Last, of course, make sure to check out our friends at OG's Brands. There's an alarm going off.
I thought we were about to blow up.
Yeah,
there was a beeping all of a sudden.
Yeah, it definitely.
If it goes black, nice knowing y'all.
We had a good run.
And don't come anywhere near downtown Phoenix.
Yeah, that would be definitely the case. But if you're stuck on what to do this afternoon, especially if you hear a loud, ominous beeping sound in your closet,
I would argue. I would.
Calm down.
Take OGs responsibly. I would say that if you have an ominous beeping sound and you think that you might blow up, taking OGs probably not the spot to do it. After you found out that the bomb is not real and you got to bring the anxiety back down to earth. Maybe you realize it was a false alarm, then you take those.
Yeah, the OGs is maybe the thing that makes you think it's an ominous beeping.
Yeah,
when in reality,
after the beeping.
It's your alarm that you set earlier so that you had plenty of time to do the stuff you want to do. But of course, if you're like Max Simpson, you already know exactly what you love from OG's brands. But if
he's wearing the OG shirt right now.
He's wearing an OG shirt right now. He's got OG's socks on. It's incredible. The man loves
OG's boxers.
It's amazing.
He got an OG's tattoo.
He was showing me those earlier.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. The tattoo's in a fun place.
Was that at the same time as the boxers?
Max loves his brands.
Yeah, this is wild. It's wild commitment.
We all love OGs. Just not all of us. I'm not about tattooing.
I heard Max gets a tattoo for every advertiser we have somewhere on his body.
He's like a NASCAR.
Oh, wow.
He is like a NASCAR.
Yeah, that's awesome. He ask him to show you all of his tattoos sometimes. But I'll also ask him to buy you a beer. That's something that I heard Max is buying everybody beers.
Ask him his favorite flavor.
That's right. Ask him that too, because of course he knows what his favorite is. But if you don't know what yours is, make sure to check out their mixed bags of the fruits and the creams. They have all sorts of variety in those bags, and of course you can check out all those Hall of Fame flavors in one place and decide if you like one particular flavor or if you like the entire mixed experience. The fruits and creams are available in both a sunny sativa or a mellow indica blend. So make sure to check out OGs and customize your experience based on your mood or time of day. Being a PHNX listener is pretty damn sweet. Of course, make sure right now to check out OG's brands at all Arizona The Flower Shop locations. And of course, make sure to flavor your life with our friends from OG's brands. You can also follow them on social media at OG's brands on Instagram and Twitter. So check them out. But of course, we've talked a lot about this upcoming series with the Chicago Cubs, with at least when it comes to me, with a specific amount of dread in my voice when it comes to what I've been watching the Cubs do lately. And right now, when you take a look at this team at a glance, you will see that their numbers look very good, including that plus 101 run differential that has only seemed to go up more and more lately with their offensive production.
Yeah, I mean, they're a pretty good team, which is why I've been on the Cubs train for like 2 months now. We've been telling the people that they were coming and that they would not be denied.
You were trying to tell Craig?
I was warning everybody.
You were trying to get Craig excited?
I got Craig excited, yeah.
And rightfully so. This team's good.
The team is really good. And when I was doing it back then, Stroman was still pitching. The team looked different. So the fact that they lost a guy that was like a Cy Young candidate for the first half of the year and are still like just kicking ass is incredibly impressive.
They have another one in Justin Steele, who's been absolutely incredible for this team lately.
We talk about like the D-backs get to the postseason, teams you would want to avoid. Like teams like this, the Cubs, the Phillies, they're the kind of teams, especially because you'd be playing them on the road most likely. Bellinger is going to hit a big home run, and that Wrigley Field crowd is going to get into it, and it's going to become a very, very hostile place to play. I do not want to see this team, and tonight worries me because, like I said, I feel like there's a chance that it has a very playoff-like atmosphere because Cubs fans are smart. I think they are aware of what the D-backs are, even if they're not, even if they're not the Yankees, they're not a big name team. They still know that the D-backs are competing for a playoff spot. Yeah. So it's going to be. It's like I'm with you, Derek. I'm not excited about this series, or not. I'm excited about the series. I'm not excited about the prospect of having to see this lineup every night, or I guess tonight and every afternoon, and
play 7 games still against them.
Yeah, like it's not just one series.
23 left to play. Like that's almost a third of the rest of their season.
Alternatively, it's a benchmarker. Like you're gonna figure out a lot. If you want to have a chance to do anything in the playoffs, like obviously we went through this with the Braves and the D-backs or the Braves and the Dodgers as far as like being a legitimate World Series contender. But I mean, if we talk about playing with house money, you win a series like that, you manage to, or you just get out past the wild card, like that's a massive accomplishment.
Yeah.
And so this is if you can manage to do damage against this line or keep this lineup in check more accurately, like that's going to do a lot, I think, for this team's confidence and just as fans to know, like, okay, this team it's not, if they make the playoffs, it's not just like backing into the playoffs and it's like, this was fun. Like it's like maybe they could surprise some people.
They will earn it for sure.
Yeah, like they're gonna have. Yeah, this Cubs team does not seem to kind of. The team's not going to hand the D-backs this series.
No,
like they are going to.
They have their own thing going on. They're still trying to win the NL Central.
Yeah, exactly.
And they are within shouting distance of.
They're within a game and a half right now of the NL Central.
And,
that's become a very realistic goal for them.
And like they're also like still competing with the Phillies for the first wild card spot, are they not?
Yeah.
So like there's a lot for them on the line there too. So
and Elise says, remember whenever you thought the Cubs were going to be sellers at the deadline? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did a couple.
I think the Cubs thought they were going to be sellers at the deadline. It wasn't until the last few days where they were like, Cody
Bellinger, they win a bunch of games right at the deadline.
Yeah, they won a bunch of games.
The hand was forced.
And instead of trading away Cody Bellinger, they not only kept him, but they added Eimer Candelario, who's been one of the probably the best hitter who was added at the trade deadline.
That was one of my big things at the deadline with this team. I was like, this team's good, and they got better. Like that's the best third baseman at the deadline. I mean, one of the best position players at the entire deadline with there.
And Michael's absolutely spot on with his comments. He says, and let's be honest, all 7 are home games for the Cubs, and that is true. Nicholas says 4-3 against the Cubs would be good. 3-4 is probably more likely, though. I'm taking 3-4 right now against this Cubs team. To be honest, I'm not mad about. Splitting.
Yeah, that wouldn't be terrible.
Yeah, I think you just can't get embarrassed. Like
outside of that, I think it would be kind of a disaster, right? I mean, not disaster, but I mean, the Diamondbacks would really have their playoff hopes really hanging on. Winning pretty much the rest of the series that aren't against the Cubs, including they have a 2-game series against the Giants, and then we covered they have 3 games against the White Sox, 3 games against the Astros, 3 games against the Yankees.
4 against the Mets.
4 against the Mets there in the middle. Yeah. So, I mean, none of it's easy. None of it's easy. If the Diamondbacks end up making these playoffs, they've earned it.
We knew going into this month that they were going to have to probably win some games that on paper they were not supposed to win because they had a very hard schedule. And like they've already coughed up some of those games with how the Orioles and Dodgers series went. So like they're going to start needing to win some of these games that on paper they might not be supposed to be. They might not be supposed to win.
No? Huh?
They might not be supposed to win.
No, that's not right.
That just doesn't feel right.
Nothing about that sentence feels right. I'm very confused now.
I don't know how to fix it. That's how bad it is.
Yeah. There was a lot of games that they're not supposed to win. They need to start winning some of them.
There you go.
I think that made sense.
I don't know what's going on.
That one made better. All right.
I think a lot of this comes down to starting pitching, right? The D-backs have both Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly going in this series. The only D-back starter you won't see in this series as far as how things line up is Zach Davies.
And Ryan.
You're going to get Ryan Nelson in this opener tonight, and then you're also going to get Gallen and Merrill Kelly, and then you're going to get Brandon Pfaadt in the finale as well. So the D-backs have some good starters going in this series. The D-backs need Zach Gallen to be Zach Gallen the rest of the way in order to get where they want to get. That's just the reality of it. He hasn't been good the last couple of times out. He's also faced some pretty darn good teams, right? Against the Dodgers and the Orioles. Those are some tough teams. You see the probables here. The Cubs starting pitching is not necessarily what makes them good, right? Justin Steele is outstanding. He's probably the Cy Young favorite over Zach Gallen and some other guys in the mix at this point. But yeah, I mean, tonight it's Javier Assad. You've got Jamison Tyone in game 2. You've got Kyle Hendricks, who is somehow still a productive major league pitcher at this stage in his career going in the finale. Assad has a 2.69 ERA, but you look at his peripherals. I think his FIP is somewhere in the 4s, and it looks like he's probably pitching overperforming at least a little bit there. Tyone has an ERA of almost 6, and Kyle Hendricks has a 3.73. He's a decent starter. He's not necessarily fantastic. So I think starting pitching could be an advantage for the Diamondbacks in this series. If they win this series, it's probably going to be because their starters outperform the Cubs starters. But the Cubs offense is just very well-rounded. There just aren't a lot of breaks in that lineup with Cody Bellinger doing what he's doing. Ian Happ having another good season. Seiya Suzuki's really been on fire for them lately. Christopher Morel has had a pretty darn good year as well after coming up last season. So there just aren't a lot of breaks in this lineup. It's somewhat similar to the Orioles in that regard, where it's a well-rounded lineup. They've got some bullpen weapons. The starting pitching is probably the one thing that you can make a case the Diamondbacks could be better than the Cubs in that regard in this series.
So the one thing we haven't really brought up is that Zach Gallen is pitching tomorrow at 11:20 local time.
That is true.
Obviously,
Another
that is something that has been a problem.
Yeah,
so
another early away start.
Hopefully, it's different than some of those early away starts have been. But
the amount of early away starts he's gotten has really cost him the Cy Young Award. It
almost feels like it.
It's pretty nuts.
It almost feels like it. Like, I mean, obviously that 8 a.m. Tigers game we had was one of the worst. But what time was that game actually? Wasn't it like?
I think it was like 8:30.
8:30, right?
I think it was 11:30 Eastern time, about 8:30
on NBC
time.
On Peacock, right? That
was the
Peacock game. Everything about that was weird. But hopefully, obviously, like it's Zach Gallen, and you don't want to think that there's actually something like that would actually affect him. But obviously, it seems like it has in the past. So that's a little concerning. But if you get a good outing from Zach Gallen, then that's really good because like everything is stacked against him in that regard.
Yeah, there's a big time marquee pitching matchup there on Saturday with Justin Steele and Merrill Kelly.
Yeah,
mainstay. Anybody check the temperature on?
I think it's pretty cool. I think it's in the low 70s. I think I saw in the clubhouse they post
9-inning shut piece incoming.
Yeah, it's going to be a complete game shutout. By the way, Derek,
casually, it's going to be a complete game shutout. Just how casually you were about it.
The Diamondbacks president Derek Hall was on Arizona Sports 98.7, and he was actually discussing Merrill Kelly's comments about the air conditioning and the heat at Chase Field.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, he discussed that the air conditioning system is part of a multi-building system that the Diamondbacks don't actually have control necessarily over, like the output of it. But they did say that part of the stadium renovation would be to build essentially, it sounded like an additional unit that's similar to this one that currently cools multiple buildings that would also cool.
How does that work?
We're gonna have to look into it more, but that was absolutely the comments that he made.
But is it like it's its own building?
Yeah,
is it like underground air conditioning that connected to the convention center or something?
I don't know what it's also connected to.
That's
he just said it was a multi-building system, basically.
Interesting. Yeah. For the record, the high is 74 on Saturday, like you said. So
I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense, right? Because like if it was built like a house or something, there'd be an air conditioning unit on top, right? Or like somewhere on the outskirts.
Well, yeah.
And for that big of a building, I mean, it would be enormous.
Yeah.
Like we would know about this somewhere, right?
Is it that plant on the other side of the train tracks behind the building?
Yeah. And also, like if they had control over it, they would just it would be cooler in there. Like they would, it would just be, unless it was broken, which does not, they're saying, I guess it's not the case. Like they would turn it down. So I guess it's something, but like, yeah, Blake saying it does kind of sound like a cop out. Like it does sound like it's like, we got no control over it. What do you want us to do?
In some
maybe
cases,
it's the case, but I don't know.
In some cases, it's weird because I mean, the decisions they made all those years ago when they built that facility, were kind of in a period of time where. And I hate to make myself sound so old, but like things were just different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, technology has advanced a lot since like 95, 96 when they started.
What, back then you couldn't be online and get a phone call at the same time, right?
I'm talking
about when I lived in that time. I'm not saying this. I didn't say like the phone was invented back then, right?
Yes, there was a period of time when you put a landline
I was alive then too.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like you were your point being, don't fucking. It wasn't a shot at you. Your point was that technology was different, and I was like, technology was weirdly intertwined in weird ways back then.
Piggybacking off of what Shawn said, what was your favorite dinosaur that you
Jesus
used?
Oh man,
did you ride Stegosaurus to school?
They were
uphill both ways.
They were nice, like golden retrievers. Like it was more about personality than like actual physical build, you know. But anyway, I
was not taking a shot at you for the record.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
technology was weird back then. I like the idea of like someone in our office like putting the thermostat down a few degrees, and all of a sudden it gets just way colder in the Diamondbacks clubhouse. And it's just like it's just connected.
That's how it's connected. Yeah.
What if it was our building? Yeah. What if our building was?
That's why it gets hot as hell on weekend
after 5 p.m.
It's 90 degrees there, 90 degrees here. Everyone's suffering.
It's crazy. I will say though, you're right though. When it comes to technology, like I live in a weird time frame where I do feel like a dinosaur because I literally lived in a time that we didn't have internet.
Yeah.
Like I lived in a day when we didn't have internet. I brought up fucking like number munchers and what was the other thing? Oregon Trail to you guys, and you were like, you played it in school.
Well, yeah, that was
that's the only place
we
we had
needed
computers.
That was more of a
me
me thing. I just didn't know. I didn't know that was like used as an educational tool.
It absolutely was.
I had no concept of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
when I was growing up, Oregon Trail, like that was my computer time.
It was
really? That was like me having a good time.
My
wasn't
computer time
educational.
growing up was
we were having a good time.
Baseball.
Don't get it twisted.
Okay.
We weren't in there like objectively. Like the computers were new and awesome, and this game was incredible to us, and the graphics were groundbreaking. So don't even get me started.
I use dial-up internet and AIM. Like I'm not that young.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to seem like I'm young, but like.
I'm done listening to you. I'm absolutely done listening.
I also remember a time when technology was like pretty different.
Yeah.
Like I'm older than the touchscreen cell phone.
Yeah.
I used to have to press the button 3 times to get to see. I'm not that young.
You used to have to push the button 3 times.
That shit was terrible.
Yeah,
you're
right.
just digging a deeper and deeper hole for
It's
yourself,
terrible.
Shawn.
Since we're down here, let's just look at the All-City standings because I feel sad anyway. So let's take a look at the lead the Cubs have on us. We do have a chance to make up.
Sweep incoming. We're coming back. We're taking this lead back.
We're taking this back. I mean,
are we gonna have to go through a point where we have to figure out like the tiebreaker?
Damon still has a version of this saved on his computer where we're up by like 12 games on everybody in the division, I'm sure. So
why?
That's just still crazy to me. Yeah,
we don't need it.
But yeah, no, this is
at least it's only single digits. Like you look at 22 games back, just looks sad.
It is a battle.
Yeah.
It is a
battle for the basement.
I mean, so like somebody, we need to have a punishment for whoever ends up in last place in the All-City Network.
Yeah, fucking it would be hilarious because this is like just an us thing. So CHGO White Sox, we have like no interaction with really. They're just we're gonna show up one day and be like, you guys have to serve this punishment. You finished last in All-City. They'll be like, what is going on? What are you talking about?
But yeah, no, I'm not happy about this. We need to get this division back. I've said this many times, but this is the only division that matters to me right now.
It's on the line this weekend.
It's really on the line. So
you can make up some serious ground.
Well, it's going to be a fun series, and we have a very special, very fun post game planned for tonight. So make sure to come back here tonight after the game. That should be around like 7:30 ish. So make sure to tune in. We will be talking about hopefully, Jordan Lawlar.
We're going to be talking about Jordan Lawlar's major league debut. It's pretty crazy.
You still don't have a lineup yet?
It's wild.
He's hitting for the cycle of home runs.
Wow.
Oh, of home runs.
Of home runs.
Incredible.
He's going to do what Josh Rojas did,
I was going to say, is
hit
this the first time we're at Wrigley since he hit those 3 home runs? Or they had that multi-home run game?
I don't know if it's the first
time.
I
get that first time since that series.
It might be. I don't know.
Oh, man. How far Rojas
We do have do we have a lineup?
I don't know. I kept looking for it.
Oh, this is fascinating. Maybe this is only on my phone, but when I open the MLB app, the Diamondbacks only have 7 players in their starting lineup right now.
What do they have?
That's a little concerning.
Yeah,
Corbin Carroll is leading off and playing right field.
Thank
Ketel
God.
Marte is batting second, playing second base. Fam's hitting third and left field. Walker first base. Thomas center field. Moreno catching at in the 6th hole. Pavin Smith batting 7th at DH. And the Diamondbacks they're just going to play with 7 players today in the lineup.
It sounds like they're trying to decide who's going to play short and third. like Perdomo and Lawlar doing rock paper scissors. Being like, I
rock paper scissors
I want to play
happening
short
right now. We'll have an update
shortly.
Oh man, that'd be a amazing telecast to live broadcast them playing. For the spot now. Perdomo has been taking a lot of defensive ground balls at third base, but we really didn't think much of it because when they're out there,
he's
just
played third base this year.
Yeah.
He can play third base. I think he's a pretty good third baseman. I would think they would play Perdomo at third base.
And then we also have the Jordan Lawlar thing about him playing third base in that
he could
final
also
game.
play third base.
So
yes,
we'll see what happens. But
wow, this is really wild. People in the chat are having the same problem.
Yeah, no, I have it on mine. I don't. Have they tweeted out?
Is there some is there some rule in the CBA somewhere like?
Oh wait, hold on. I just got an alert
that allows you to play 7
I got
players.
an alert with the full roster or the full lineup. Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Tommy Pham, Christian Walker, Alec Thomas, Gabby Moreno, Pavin Smith, Lawlar playing at short, Perdomo at third. Batting
there
ninth.
we go.
So Lawlar's batting 8th, playing at short.
There we go.
There we go. Let's go.
There you go.
Well, that's exciting, and of course,
I think that rock paper scissors. Lawlar won the rock paper scissors. So that's what,
damn it, it wasn't going on right as we were speaking about it. But of course, whether you're watching baseball games here or you're catching one at Wrigley Field, make sure you have yourself a premium pair of polarized sunglasses. Of course, you can get those from our friends at Shady Rays. They make gear built to last. They're an independent sunglass company with a world-class product that's not nearly as expensive as other sunglass brands, and they have a better lost and broken replacement plan than any of those brands. If you lose or break your pair even on day one, they told us this crazy thing that they will send you out a brand new pair. No questions asked, no judgment, no guilt. They're not going to do any of that stuff to you. They're just going to send you out a brand new pair. Also, if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange them for a new pair or exchange them for your money back for free within 30 days of purchasing. There's no risk when you shop. You can also shop at their Kierland Commons location here in town. It's a full-stop shop for all things Shady Rays, or check out their website at shadyrays.com. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. And I'm still extremely thirsty, Shawn, Jesse. I don't hydrate myself enough. I'm going to start cramping up. So, I mean, it's not going to just be Merrill Kelly around here. You have your little tiny bottle of water. Yeah, I appreciate this, but I would much rather have like a big old, Polar Pop. Yeah. You know what I mean? It stays cold longer. This isn't very cold, but
not very cold or very big.
Yeah, or very big. Yeah,
Derek, if you ever have to walk off the set during a show because you have cramps, because you're dehydrated, we're gonna have some problems.
I'm so close to finishing right now, but I feel my hamstring going right now as we speak. So I mean, I don't know.
There it goes.
We got less than 5 minutes left here, but I'm gonna try to power through this. But Circle K is the place that I go to rehabilitate myself and to get myself back on track. Not only are they America's thirst stop, but of course, right now they want you to join their inner circle, and you can become Judas and that's a wrestling reference. Anyway,
you do it every time.
I know, and I mean, there's one guy in the chat that gets it and laughs about it, and that's the whole point of me.
I know, I'm not. Keep doing you. I'm
okay. You can join their inner circle over at Circle K for free by downloading the Circle K app today. They will not turn on you like Chris Jericho would. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Their membership program will save you 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, and also get you buy 5, get the 6th one free on things like pizza, coffee, and again, those ice cold fountain drinks that I need one right now of on this set. But
I need to try. I haven't tried Circle K pizza before, and sometimes gas station pizza goes.
Yeah, it's pretty fire. Yeah, it really is. I mean, we've talked about their snacks. Their snacks are
but
underrated.
I mean, their hot food, like the chicken tornadoes, chicken taquitos.
Hot dogs. Hot dogs go hard. So I think you can get a D-backs dog over there at Circle K as well. So make sure to check them out, of course. But that's all we got for today. Of course, like I said, make sure to join us tonight for our post-game show. Otherwise, we appreciate you guys being here in the chat and always appreciate your support. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at cap_caveman with a K. Shawn is on X at Shawn_DePaz. Jesse, also on Twitter, he is at Jesse N. Friedman. Damon.
Wait, why am I just on X?
Well, Damon is also on X. It's personality based, but they all go to the same website. Yeah,
your
X is gonna give it to you.
I will forever be on Twitter.
I will never be on
X. Twitter for life. But Damon, he is the maniac behind the Mac. We are Damon's dogs, and you can follow Damon at Damon Dog DAWG. Of course, our show is at PHNX D-backs, and all roads do lead to at PHNX sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much again for stopping by. We do appreciate your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when you're making your major league debut.